Goedemorgen, Frank van der Linden op het Mobile Healthcare Congres in Utrecht. De hele dag livestream van dat congres, met tussendoor in de pauzes interviews. You are one of the keynote speakers. What's your name and how would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Magnus Lindkvist and I'm a trendspotter and futurologist from Stockholm, Sweden. So very happy to be here.
Thank you. What do you consider a real dilemma in the near future?
Well, this day is called mobile healthcare, and I think if you're in that space, the dilemma is, are you about mobile or are you about healthcare? And I think in many industries right now, we see that dilemma playing out. Are you, if you're selling cars, are you in the mobility space or in the car space? And so that, I think you find that, and it's both a business dilemma, but also, of course, it could be presented as an ethical dilemma or a technological dilemma. So that's one thing I find.
And what's your role in all this?
Curious spectator, eternal amateur.
Like a journalist, like me.
Yeah, I came out of business school and filmmaking, and I went to journalism school. So curiosity, the journalistic observation is something I deeply admire and respect. And I'm an eternal amateur, so I encounter every industry with no vested interest, and I just try to observe and draw some conclusions. Now, I've been doing this for about 15 years now, so in the early days, I was a green amateur, and probably quite embarrassing to listen to. But
You've changed.
Yeah, but
you've
I've
really
changed.
changed.
Yeah. The new me, I think I've worked with so many industries and clients and been to so many conferences in the world right now that I'm able to at least see some parallels and repetitions and themes, and I think just presenting that to people gives some kind of value.
Yeah. Well, let's go to what you know in a few minutes, but let's start with what journalism and science is all about, the things we don't know yet. What is, even for you, a question that's more or less unanswerable? What's really difficult at this moment?
So I love that we're in the live stream of a mobile healthcare congress, and we have these deep philosophical questions. This is one of the best questions I've ever been asked, literally. I'm going to steal my answer from Richard Dawkins, who said that the one question that I would like to have answered, but is unanswerable, is what is consciousness? Because to even try to answer it is to interfere with it.
Yeah.
So the spark of consciousness, the magical fairy dust of existence. I don't need the full answer.
No.
I just need, because I find that question so interesting.
Who are we? What are we?
What are we? And what is consciousness? What sets us apart from a flower? Are we set apart from a flower? And so on. So that I think.
And what's the importance of that question for the topic that we're going to discuss today here?
So the future is always based on perspectives. Who are you? Where are you? The future, if you're a well-connected, fairly rich middle-class person in Holland, is going to look wholly different.
Like me?
Yeah, well, well, I'm not from Holland, but like most of us who attend these things, it's going to look very different from somebody else in another part of the world or living in a different time. So I found, and all of my books are about perspectives. What are our perspectives? What are the flaws of these perspectives? How do we think about the future? And how do we mispredict the future and why? It's famously said that a historian at least needs to get her facts straight, whereas a futurologist only needs an agenda. And so many statements about the future are just partisan, right? It's just saying, I want this to be.
Could you give us one example of that, things that have been said or which you think, come on, that was only that?
Well, I usually joke that I've been living through 4 futures. I remember the post.com meltdown in the early 2000s, where technology, it was just a bubble. It was not here to stay. And then we had a few years of glorious globalization. You remember the world is flat, the rise of China, and so on. And that came and went. And then we had the post-financial crisis, where we said it's insecure, we live in times of chaos theory, you cannot predict this. And then in the past year, everybody, wherever I go, wants to talk about D&D, digitalization, and Donald Trump. So I think continually, I think I would even go so far as to say nearly all of our statements about the future will be wrong in the long
Okay,
run.
and what's your statement about your future when it comes to healthcare, mobile healthcare?
In mobile healthcare right now, because it's such an experimental time, we see a flourishing of these small upstarts, unclear if they're going to scale. So I would say, don't see the future as a place, as a thing, as a destination. See it as an activity to future. Let's future. Try to future. How can you future more often?
And what
So
is
I
that,
think.
to future?
Exactly. What is to future? I would say whenever you try to tap into the zeitgeist and change it, you future, right? Okay, everybody's here, let's go over here. Whenever you do an experiment, does this work? And what is experimentation? It's planned failure, right?
Yeah.
We future. Whenever we are misunderstood here and now, and you know, we are both on social media, there's a lot of misunderstanding right now. You are futuring because maybe you'll be proven wrong in the long run.
It's more or less like a famous Irish writer once said, you fail, you fall flat on your face, you rise, you learn from it, and next time you fall better on your face.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. Irish writers, you can trust them to find the right words to describe these things. I think it's great. However, I would be a little bit cautious to use failure because it's become such a Silicon Valley cliche.
Okay.
And we are not good at it in
What
Europe.
kind of word would you use instead of that?
I would use...
The learning process?
I don't know. The reason I don't like failure is that we are not good at it in Europe, and we never will be, because we come from small farmer communities originally built on shame. And maybe that's actually a better way of going around it. It's famously said about the banking crisis that they were so disconnected from the people they did business with.
Yeah.
So we can come up with our own word to fi.
To find.
Yeah.
Okay. And how would you define that?
I wouldn't. I would let people associate with it.
So it's a sort of organic process of keeping your eyes open, keeping your ears open.
Pushing against the boundaries of the possible, pushing against the boundaries of the acceptable, pushing against the boundaries of conventional wisdom.
While our natural attitude is to want to be sure of things.
Sure, the future is often a leadership statement, right? This is where we're going, and everybody becomes happy.
Yeah, I have a dream, and it's
I
there.
have a dream, and we're all going too.
Yeah. So, and is there anything specific when it comes to healthcare, mobile healthcare, looking at the future? Does that differ from other subjects when you look into the future?
There is no subject like healthcare in that it has so many stakeholders, from doctors, physicians, hospitals, patients, relatives, politicians, payers, and they all disagree on how to do it, but they agree it's so important. So it's literally one of the most complex industries you can get into. You're bound to get an enemy whatever you do. My message today is focus on healthcare, not on mobile. All the technological stuff will become invisible, boring, and cheap. This is the history of technology.
Okay.
When it's new, it's shiny, it's worth a lot of money, but it doesn't make an impact.
Yeah.
Over time, it disappears. Focus on the healthcare part. That would be my key contribution.
Last question. What do you notice yourself? What's your personal experience with mobile healthcare? Do you have any machine or whatever on you? What do you use?
I like it that your eyes go downwards. Usually you look at somebody's wrist.
Okay.
And I do have a tracking device.
Okay.
And it's like an unhealthy relationship. I live with it, and sometimes I try to live without it, and then I go back. So I'm a little bit addicted just to tracking and seeing. What I like about that is it's continuous.
Yeah.
Medical diagnostics is periodic. You go in for one blood test, and it gives you a snapshot. And healthcare sector today is really badly equipped to deal with continuous data. So that's one of the big challenges for the healthcare
It's a
sector.
sort of second heart that's beating, kadoom, kadoom,
Yeah.
kadoom, kadoom.
Hearts, steps taken, where are you in the future? Whenever we do, non-intervention sampling, so like non-blood testing, but seeing through scanning, however we may do that, you're going to be tracking everything continuously.
Yeah.
And then the big, static, hospital way of doing things will have a problem.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to listen to you. We're going to take a look into the future.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Dankjewel.
Good day.